Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Agile Cool Kids podcast. We are a group of Agile enthusiasts, practitioners, and thinkers from many different backgrounds, exploring and having fun. We like to compare, contrast, and discover new ideas and deeper meanings of applying Agile to the future of work and life. And this morning, I have three Agile Cool Kids with me. Maria, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course, Francesca, thank you very much. I am Maria, an Agile coach, a people lover, a person that thinks that life is too short to avoid trying new things every day. So that's me. And Blas, would you like to introduce yourself also?
Yes, of course. It's so good to be back this Saturday. I'm Blaž Ertul. I'm Insights Discovery licensed practitioner from Slovenia and an Agile enthusiast and an avid animal lover. And last but not least, we have Donald Ewart. So would you like to introduce yourself, Don?
Thanks, Blaž. Yeah, I'm Don Ewart, and I'm an expert Agile coach living in the UK. And I have an interest in leadership coaching. That's it today. So, Francesca, what's our topic?
Yes, that's a very good point, Don. Thank you for that. Maria recently talked about ChatGPT and the fact that everybody is kind of afraid that ChatGPT will replace somebody's job, right? Maria, what else?
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering what this is going to mean for the Agile profession, but not only for us as Agile coaches, also for the Agile mindset, for teams. What is the meaning of that? So,
Okay.
So in terms, to be honest,
have you heard anything? Yeah. Have you heard anything?
Well, now I think in my current work, for example, my manager gave us the challenge us to use ChatGPT in our day-to-day job to understand the meaning of that. No, it looks that this is going to be something really impactful, and I agree. We need to know these things. No, probably they can be used for the good, for the bad. There is a lot of discussion around that. But somehow I think we need to explore this a bit. I am starting this exploration, to be honest. But what I have heard is that ChatGPT can be a nice coach. So, for example, no. So, what do you think about that? Will ChatGPT replace a coach that is a person? What is in your mind about that?
Well, does anyone have the opinion that yes, it will? Maybe start with there.
Maybe. No, we have Francesca saying no. Francesca.
Yeah.
No, for me, it's a total no. It could be a good coach for basic stuff, like you're stuck and you need to know pros and cons of A and B. Maybe ChatGPT could help make the decision. Well, not make the decision for you, but help you find more information and compare the results so that you can proceed with your decision, right? If your point is I need to know more before I can make a decision, probably ChatGPT can help. I doubt that ChatGPT could see somebody's emotions on, as a body language. I doubt that ChatGPT could understand maybe the hesitation when somebody's talking, or silence, or anything that is nonverbal, and especially something that is not something that you type or you hear. It's something that needs to have a trained ear, and especially those active listening skills that should be in every good coach. That's what I think. Don't know. What about you, Don? You were saying something.
Well, yeah, I think I agree with you definitely for those reasons.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that if I think what a trap that people are falling into is immediately personifying ChatGPT as a robot out of Star Wars, right? That can do all those amazing things that they do in Star Wars. Because the thing about Star Wars robots is they're emotional.
Mm.
They have emotions, right? To make them more human-like or interact with humans. And I think that's that's where it falls down. Because if you think what ChatGPT really is, it's an algorithm that goes off to search the internet and collate all those answers and then gives you an answer, right? And it's got some smarts about it, and it's got some, natural language, calculation, and it can do all those things to give you back some really accurate things, but that's all it's doing. So it's a bit like a very, very smart Google search or internet search, where it's, where you search something in Google, it'll bring you back 100 answers. And now you've got to sift through that and make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think what ChatGPT is doing is that bit of it for you. It's sifting through those 100 answers and then making sense for you what's statistically most likely, right? So that's what it really is doing. Like you said, Francesca, no awareness of the person asking, right? And no awareness of the situation that you're in, that you're talking about. So I think that's where it'll always fall down. I've used it. I've tried it. I've done a few things with it, and I think it's very good as, like you say, as a researcher. If you want to research something and go, yeah, what is the, if you ask something like, what is the SAFe framework, or how can I introduce the SAFe framework to an organization? It might come back with a few things, right? But the thinking hasn't stopped once you've got that answer. Now it's over to you to do that. So yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. But Blaž, how about you? Blaž, am I right in thinking you've, like me, you've got a sci-fi interest?
Yes, a little bit. And what I was thinking is just we cannot predict the future and where ChatGPT will go from here. Maybe it can predict your facial features and your emotion and your tone of voice in the future. And also some generations, and even maybe it's not just generational, we tend to gravitate towards technology instead of people when we are suffering and when we have problems. Instead of talking with people, we turn to video games, gambling, addictions, and stuff like that. And that's where ChatGPT can come in, and people will turn to it instead of a real human coach. I think we have to embrace ChatGPT as a tool that might help us. Of course, some of the professions that we have now will be obsolete in the future, but I think we have to embrace it and use it to advance our work. But I think soft skills, as we call them, will be even more important in the future, because I don't think that ChatGPT can replace them. It cannot replace the hug, the physical touch, somebody consoling you, but still I think it can replace coaches to a certain degree, where people tend to turn to technology instead of human beings.
So on my side, to be on top of what you have said, I think I mostly agree with all of you. So in the next days, my intention is to explore a bit how much ChatGPT can help me to design a workshop, for example, and to explore a bit what are the capacity of ChatGPT to ask, for example, open questions and follow a coaching conversation, a sort of coaching conversation. I agree with Blaž that, well, these are the capabilities of ChatGPT today, but we don't know if in the future it will be able to listen the tone of voice, to identify emotions maybe with other devices or whatever. So it can happen, I think, and probably it will happen. I agree also with Don that, well, you need to be able to prompt, and also you need your expertise, because, well, at the end, this is a machine that is learning from other people and can give you very accurate answers, and even to build things taking into account this knowledge. So this this machine is able to put knowledge together to build something that is the result of this combination. And this is really, really powerful and can help us, of course. And I was thinking also regarding our profession and our profession, I agree with Francesca that now ChatGPT cannot maybe do some things that can be done by humans. We don't know what would happen in the future, but also I was thinking that, well, today not everybody is having a coach, for example, no, in their lives, no. So this need of having a conversation with yourself, of being asked powerful questions, I think could be easily substituted by ChatGPT, because it is very accessible, very easy to use. So if this need is covered somehow for most of the people, probably we will need to evolve our profession, as Blas commented, somehow in order to provide something else, no? That that the people really, in order to be able to cover needs of the people that are uncovered by ChatGPT, no?
Maria, do you think that ChatGPT will ever be able to coach the person and not the problem?
Well, I don't want to give an opinion without knowing a lot about ChatGPT, because really I am not an expert. But I don't know. It looks like it's very powerful. I would like to test really this, no? But if I guess that if you train ChatGPT to follow a conversation, maybe he can ask you powerful questions that are related with the problem, but are more about you. I think that probably it can do it, but really I don't know. No, this is the reason, because I want really to explore that. No, what happened?
So I think at the moment that's where it can't do things like that, because all it can do is it searches the web and it puts together answers that are, you know, statistically likely to meet your needs. But its only input is what you type. Yeah. Right. However, I think Blas is into a right one there when he said in the future. And I think in the future, we already have very good voice and face recognition. If you could train the computer AIs to, if you could train the AIs to understand facial expressions and the tones of voice and define someone's emotional state from that, now you have emotional input. You can then train the AI to reflect back, oh, I see you're worried about that. Oh, I see you're angry about that, you know, and take into consideration that input as well. And then, you know, modify its answers to be coaching the person than the problem, right? But that's going to necessarily, you know, depend on those things, but also depend on codifying what a coach does. You know, and if you think about, you know, if you take any job, if you can codify what the experience is and then set that down as a set of rules, well, then anyone can follow those rules, right? But does that hold? Does that really hold? I'm thinking of one thing I'm thinking of is like a doctor. You could have diagnosis done by AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could.
Right? And you could have prescriptions by right. So because what a doctor is doing is using his knowledge and experience with the person in front of them. If you could codify all of that, then you've got the best doctor. And I think I heard as someone prophesying that, you know, when medical insurance companies start doing this, that they have the best doctor in the world will be an AI, and it's accessible from anyone in the world for a price. Now you've got a business model for it. And so there's some interesting ideas there, but it has to be specific for medicine and for maybe a GPO, a general practitioner. Maybe there'd be one for a coach as well. Maybe they'd one for a accountant. Maybe they'd be right. So that's where the danger is when it becomes very sophisticated like that. I'm not sure how long that'll be in the future, though.
I think it all comes down to preferences of individuals. It's like a self-checkout in stores. Some people prefer it because
Yeah.
it's quicker, while others want to have small talk with the cashier. And also, of course, you can have a really kind waiter, or you can just have a machine in McDonald's where you just click what you want to eat, and some people prefer that. So it really depends. Sometimes we tend to avoid human contact, while other time we can't wait to have some and we embrace it. So it really comes down to an individual, because when you are being coached or when you coach, you deal with the emotions, you also deal with the body language of another person. And if you're not comfortable with that, then ChatGPT might be better for you, or you would prefer it, unfortunately or fortunately, depends on your type.
It's also about vulnerability. So if I think of clients of a coach, some of them, if not most of them, they need to show their vulnerability, not because they want to, but because it's part of the process. So if they really want to uncover something that has been bothering them, or they may not even be aware that that is something that has been bothering them, but through the help, with the help of a coach, you get this kind of awareness. And the process of getting to this awareness, it might be a little bit painful. So you show your emotions in terms of tears, maybe, just as a, the easiest example that comes to mind. Maybe some people don't want to show that to another human being. So then they might want to talk to a machine because the machine is not going to judge. The coach, a good coach, is not going to judge either. However, it's another human being.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
This
And
is
that's the thing,
interesting. This is interesting, Francesca, because you could think that when you are talking with a robot, let's say, nobody is listening or judging you, but
Wow.
probably you have all the internet.
Well, exactly. Yes, yes.
This
That's
is
right.
interesting. Something that resonated with me that Blas commented. I love the metaphor that you explained. I think it's similar with online shopping, no? At the beginning, there are people that still prefer to go to the shop and touch the stuff and try, but there are a lot of people that has adopted, because well, in this accelerated world that we live, no, sometimes online shopping is more convenient than going to the supermarket or whatever to take the things. Another thing I read that is that I found interesting is like some people think that the only jobs that will not be replaced in the future by artificial intelligence are the ones that are very manual. So probably facilitation is one of them. I don't know, maybe you can have a robot that facilitates a workshop, but well, I think this is really very, very manual, no? The process of maybe the design can be automated, but the process of facilitating people, I don't know, but well, it is interesting. Also, some people now they have signed, Elon Musk and a lot of scientists have signed up a manifest asking the most advanced artificial intelligence to be stopped for 6 months, waiting for some sort of regulation, because they commented that if we are going to remove in the future, in the short future, because this is so fast, this thing learns so fast that maybe in the future most of the jobs are going to be obsolete. So, and they thought that do we really want to remove all the jobs, even the ones that are grateful and interesting for the people? So what do we want to do with this thing really for the human future, no?
So I don't think that really. Well, I'm thinking two things. So think about in revolutions in technology. For example, like when the car was invented. Okay, and when the car was invented, and then 20 years later, everyone's driving cars. Imagine you were a blacksmith or a bridle maker, right, for horses in the 1800s, 1890s, 1900s. And then over 20 years, suddenly there's no business. It's all gone. but you could retrain and be an upholsterer or a sheet metal worker or something else. There's another thing has happened, another change has happened that there's more opportunities there. And yeah, some people can't do that or don't do that, and things get left behind. So that's a problem. That's where governments and other organizations need to help people to retrain things. So that's one thing I'm thinking about: industrial revolutions and technological revolutions. But the other one is that in our lifetimes, things like the internet has happened, and it has allowed many people to discover many things and be much more aware, and much more information is available. It really is amazing. But how many jobs have been lost because of the internet being invented? And we know more. So I'm not sure. Accountants are still accountants, and programmers are still programmers. They're maybe better at their role now because they've got the internet at their disposal, and it's a tool that supports everybody in that way. So I'm just thinking, where does this, as a technical discovery or evolution, where does that fit in that kind of spectrum? Is it going to smash everything like cars did, or is it really just going to be a supportive thing?
I think the difference they are seeing, just the last thing to say, is the time. Because for example, the internet revolution has been very fast. The horses and cars was slow. The internet has been very fast. Really, the life of my grandmother was totally different from my life, and the jobs there are totally different to the jobs today. But I think that what they are saying, and I don't know, is like this revolution is going to be super fast. So and so we are not going to have time to adapt ourselves to this.
Also, I think they will have to make it very human-like for us to accept it. Because if they make it too perfect, I think perfection is plain. That's why we still buy some custom-made stuff, some homemade stuff that is not quite as perfect as you would buy it from the mass production, but it's almost perfect. And let's say that illusion of perfection probably gives you even more value than to have a perfectly round, let's say, coffee mug. And I think that's also with coaching and everything. If it's too robotic, and even if you get all the answers from it and you do miracle breakthroughs, it will not give you probably the same value as some human imperfections would. And I think that's what we seek in life.
Would you trust it? Would you build a relationship with it, a coaching relationship, or a mentoring relationship with it over time? It would have to remember you, and it would have to know your history. And now the computer, or those companies now know much more detail about you as a person, your inner thoughts, even sometimes. Whoa.
Yeah.
Do you trust it?
Scary.
Scary.
Creepy.
And you'd have to pay would you pay for it?
Yeah. I was just thinking with what Maria was saying, that this type of revolution is going to be super fast. Then even more people will need Agile. Some sort of Agile mindset will be definitely needed, because it's no longer about I don't know, small, medium, big companies deciding to anticipate the market, so minimum viable products and all the stuff that we usually know, right? It's no longer about companies that are slowly transitioning to a new type of business, and then they are trying to react to the market, right? So either the anticipation of the market or the reaction to the market. This is where Agile could thrive for sure, but now it's all about everyone, because if ChatGPT or any sort of AI today or in the near future, because it's learning so fast. So we're not talking about the horses and car 20 years or a bit faster, well, a lot faster with the internet, right? But here, maybe 6 months from now, we will have already some big revolution here. Maybe what Blaž said, that you know, the facial recognition software together with the voice recognition and all these kind of things, and maybe they're all connected to ChatGPT or any sort of AI in the next few months. Then what? Then people will have to adapt, you know, to a new world.
So, but then think about this. So what we're saying then, especially with the facial and the voice recognition, is you will have to codify people's facial and tone of voice to emotions. But how do people do that? How do we do that? How do we know that? We've learned that over the course of our lifetimes. Can we really say every time we see a face, we know exactly the emotion that they're saying, right? And the tone of voice, right? Could it understand sarcasm and cynicism and jokes and right? That's what unless it can be that level, we're not going to use it, because it's going to be like Blaž says, it's going to be a bit fake and a bit not very perfect and a bit robotic and, you know, subpar and bland. Right. So then that's where my hope is that I think it's going to be a very useful technology, but I don't think it would ever I don't think in a short time it would ever get to that level.
And also, Don, what you were saying, it means that somebody will have to codify and write down in terms of steps of a process all the facial expressions and all the voice recognitions of people that speak, I don't know, hundreds of different languages, dialects, and slangs and everything. And also, how about the biases of how people look like? Because that it's going to be for white males.
Well,
you know,
could be, yes.
Because this is how this world works. Right now, at least. So there's a whole equity
what do you train it on?
And diversity topic that would come up out of that, I guess.
I think I have just one insight. In the last, let's say, 10, 15, or even 20 years, we have been trained to give our knowledge, our data, everything to the internet for free with no problem. And when we are talking about codifying, we will codify it, let's say, ourselves, which means if you have like a ChatGPT therapist, it would ask you, how do you feel? And you would say, I feel anxious. And then you would start speaking and your voice would go into the database. And then it will probably predict, like the prediction model, it will predict your voice, your facial features and everything. And they won't have to ask you like to pay you for the information, but you will give it for free.
Well, it might be interesting that you could perhaps use things like TikTok and YouTube and all of these other, you know, collections, I put it that way, to train already. Because you could filter through YouTube and say, oh, here's a video of someone being sad, being angry, being mournful, being, you know, and the AI could train on those images and pictures and videos. But then you'd have to then define, okay, if someone is in this, with this history and this situation and this kind of person and they're having this emotion, then these are the questions you would have to, that's going to be really tough. I think that would be very, very tough to do. We have to remember that as the engineers or the scientists or the businesses behind these, they have to do that. They have to be able to get to that level to make it happen. It's going to be a bit like training children, right? To be adults. Train them in the right ways. It might take that long.
I wouldn't subestimate the power of the artificial intelligence. Really, I think codifying the natural language is one of the most complex things of human beings. So I'm sure, I don't know, I can be wrong, but I'm sure that this can be done. And so I think, in my opinion, and this is something that resonated with me after something that Francesca said before. I think that in the future, because now for me there is an important problem that is ethic, people, this kind of thing. So for me, this is something that the agile mindset can do a lot in the future. No, it's about ethic, well-being, people, all this part, because probably part of the things can be solved now by regulation. But in my opinion, this is so powerful that regulation not will be enough to stop all the damage that this can do and turn this in something that is really good for the humanity. So I think this is something that is designed to be done by the people, and we can have a place there. No?
Thank you, everyone. It was an amazing conversation, and we're getting to the end of the time together for today. So everyone who's watching us, please follow this episode and come back to our channel and to our LinkedIn group so that you can watch more. And thank you, Don, Blaž, and Maria, for today.
Thank you,
you.
Francesca, and everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.